It is Friday, September 20th, 2024. This is another edition of Baseball Today, presented to you by 5 Hour Energy. That is my man, Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose. Producer Dan along for the ride as well. Last of our few days together here in the warehouse. All I can tell you is that Blitzball Battle 5, there's a lot of controversy and fun.
And we yelled at each other, or at least I yell at you. That's just...
Don't give away too much.
Well, that happens every single Blitzball
That's
battle.
true.
Yeah.
It's true.
I'm a big-time complainer.
You are.
Yeah.
I don't want to say what other people have been saying about you, but
care.
you know.
I don't care.
Today's episode brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Give you shots that help you feel alert and energized. Why? Because each and every shot is packed with vitamins, nutrients, and about as much caffeine as the leading premium coffee.
Yes.
Here's the thing Plouffe loves most about it. It contains 0 sugar. You'll drink it in seconds, you're going to feel it in minutes, and it will last for hours. It's available in a wide range of great flavors across regular strength and extra strength varieties. So head on over to 5hourenergy.com. Use the code JOHNBOY to save 20% on your first order. That is the number 5hourenergy.com. Code is JOHNBOY to save 20% today. Coming up later, the 5 Hour Energy question of the week. No tip of the cap.
No.
Because our tip of the cap goes to our first topic. Shohei Ohtani, enough said.
On a 1-2, Ohtani sends one in the air, the other way, back it goes, gone! One-of-a-kind player, one-of-a-kind season. Shohei Ohtani starts the 50-50 club.
I'm glad that the team won, and it was something I wanted to get over as quickly as possible, and it's something that I'm going to cherish for a very long time.
That, of course, the sounds of Will Ireton there at the end. That is Shohei's new interpreter this season. Boy, what a season to start that job, huh? Way to go, man. So I'm curious how you felt when we've been talking about it for months, it feels like. So now that it's here, what were your emotions with it?
I think they're the same as they've been for quite some time with Shohei. It's just when you watch him play, you're watching something completely different. I tweeted out that last night that I don't think this is a generational player. I think he's just like the player.
Right, one of a kind.
I really do believe that. And people can say, well, he's not the best hitter we've ever seen, and he's not the best pitcher we've ever seen, but he's the guy that can do both. And at an elite level, that just isn't... It's not going to happen again, people.
Nope.
Like, this isn't going to be he opened the door up for this to happen. They've been trying this. Nobody is like Shohei. And even, let's just say there was some dude that can throw the ball hard and can hit the ball hard. Shohei also is one of the fastest players in all of the big leagues. He has it all. And I think he also has something that people don't talk about enough. And that is the work ethic, the commitment to routine. And that's a huge part of the Japanese culture, yes. But, he takes it to another level. And I think that has aided him in a time where he's had a lot of weird stuff happen. You talk about the Ippei stuff. You can talk about rehabbing from a major elbow surgery. The commitment to routine has allowed him to focus on his offense and his base stealing and have this magical season. He's going to win the MVP 51-51. We didn't even play the next one.
I know, right?
It's
the
crazy.
3 homer. He had maybe the greatest game we've ever seen, where he goes 6 for 6 with 3 homers, 10 ribs, couple of steals.
It's unbelievable.
So
Chris.
you talked about the routine. It was interesting because I had Logan Webb on the Rose rotation recently, and he talked about being an all-star teammate with Shohei. And I said, "Did you have a chance to talk to him?" He said, "Yeah, we had a great time. We talked about an at bat that we had recently." And he goes, "That dude, I think, had worked out twice by the time I had seen him." And he goes, I'm talking to everybody else like, this is the all-star break where we're all trying to grab a breather, and that dude is just mashing metal in the workout room. So you're right about that.
Yes.
The other thing is, I will admit this.
Okay.
I didn't feel the same way watching it that I do when guys hit 500 or 600 homers, those sort of milestones. Okay. I just didn't feel the same way. I'm not going to say that it doesn't mean as much, but I didn't feel like I feel something special with those things, even though this has never been done before. Okay?
Okay.
But
okay, go on.
My point is that I love continuing to layer this legacy because I love telling my friends who are not baseball fans, the guys I work with Sundays on NFL Network, right? They're like, okay, so what's the big deal about 50-50? And I always explain them, well, it's the equivalent of Patrick Mahomes throwing 40 touchdowns and getting 15 sacks. They're like, what? or it's Connor McDavid in the NHL leading the league in goals scored and winning the Vezina Trophy as the league's best goaltender. Like, it just, that sort of stuff doesn't happen, right? It's not exactly a 1-to-1, I get it, but close enough.
I think I don't agree with that assessment because it is two offensive things. I think if he wins the Cy Young and also has that offensive season, that's more of that.
Him as a total product.
Sure, okay.
When
Then
I'm
if you're talking
explaining
about
who
that,
he
then
is.
yes. Not about the 50-50, but as a total product, then yes. I mean, it is. I mean, it just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen in sports. Who did it on the NFL side? Deion Sanders, right?
Yeah, but when Deion did it, he was catching like 15 passes a year.
Yeah.
He wasn't catching 80.
Yeah, exactly.
Travis Hunter, the kid that plays now for Deion at Colorado,
Yeah.
when he plays wide receiver and cornerback, like that sort of stuff is Shohei-ish.
Here's the biggest takeaway.
Yes?
And how many times we said this on the show, Chris? Take your kids, take your family to go watch this guy play.
Yes.
Because he's not going to be around forever.
No.
Got a long contract, Chris. He's going to be around for quite some time. But you're going to want to be able to say, I saw Shohei during his 50-50 season, or I saw, you just got to go see this guy.
He's incredible. He really is. He's freaking unreal. I am so happy that we have the ability to cover this sport during this time.
Agreed.
Think about how lucky we are and how lucky you should be as a fan.
Yeah.
I don't care whether you like the Dodgers, don't like the Dodgers. Appreciate what we're seeing because it's one of one. It's not happening again.
Quickly. Dodgers champagne toast.
Yeah.
Felt a little light to me.
It did. And the fact
they're not guaranteed to win their division. Chris.
No, they made the playoffs. Like, you should have shaken the shit out of those champagne dreams.
I made that point on Talking Baseball this morning. What if, obviously, the percentages lie in favor of the Dodgers winning the NL
You're
West.
right.
What if they don't? And then some guy's in the clubhouse and he never gets to do it in his career.
Yeah, you're right. I thought it was a bad look, but who knows? One other thing I want to point out about this. The fact that the Marlins pitched to him.
Yeah, Skip said that, yeah.
Here is their skipper, Skip Schumacher.
I think that's a bad move, baseball-wise, karma-wise, baseball god-wise. You go after him and see if you can get him out. And I think out of respect for the game, we're going to go after him. He hit the home run. I mean, that's just part of the deal. He's hit 50 of them. He's the most talented player I've ever seen. He is doing things that I've never seen done before in the game. And if he has a couple more of these peak years, he might be the best ever to play the game.
It's pretty awesome. That's a guy who laced it up with Albert Pujols, by the way. Mookie Betts, quote, I'm at a loss for words.
Yep.
Miguel Rojas, I almost cried, to be honest with you, which I love to hear because I think these guys do all understand, whether you're a teammate of his or you're competing against him, how fortunate they are to be on the same field.
We got to stop and move on. But so many times, let's think about when we've put people on pedestals. And that's not always right to do that. Oftentimes, in fact, most of the time, you put these people on a crazy pedestal of what you expect out of them. They're probably going to fall short a little bit, and it's unfair to them. We put Shohei on the highest pedestal possible, and he surpassed our expectations, dude. When that happens, when you're on a team with somebody, or just in life, and somebody surpasses your expectations like that, it really is meaningful.
Do you remember when it first started and in spring training he was horrible at the plate?
Pull up the clip of who was it that was saying he can't. Was it Michael K?
Oh, it was Mike Francesa?
And was it Mad Dog Russo? Those two guys. Sorry, Michael K. I did not mean to lump you up with those guys. That's a legendary clip now.
Yeah.
Go check that out. Just Google.
Yep. Brutal. All right, we continue on in my hometown of Cleveland, Ohio, where a rookie manager has picked up exactly where Terry Francona left off.
Swung and ripped to right. There's a base hit. Hitting third, coming for home, Ramirez. He will score, and the Guardians are headed to October.
I think it belongs to one person in this room. And the new heavyweight champion of the world, Stephen Ford!
Yeah, that's our buddy Austin Hedges leading the charge in the Champagne Dreams afterward. Cleveland 76 and 86 a year ago, and now they're vying for the #1 overall seed. How How surprised are you that they had this big a turnaround under a rookie manager?
I'm very surprised. I don't know. I feel like that's the right answer. I don't think anybody really expected this.
Well, wait, is it the right answer or is it your answer?
It's my answer, of course. I mean, I'm very surprised that this happened. I mean, even if you go back and you look at the beginning of the year and you're like, okay, what can happen with this team? You know, Stephen Kwan, we didn't expect power numbers like that early on in the year, but we got that. You knew Jose Ramirez was going to be good. We knew that Josh Naylor was going to be able to provide some run support in the middle of the lineup. But they've had to like completely change the way they approach the game. You know, they didn't have Shane Bieber, Tristan McKenzie for most of the year. So they've had to go make moves. We've talked about this a lot. The guys that have had to step up in the rotation, Matthew Boyd, you know, guys like that. Ben Lively, excuse me. It's come from a lot of different places. And you could say, hey, yeah, we know their bullpen was going to be okay. I don't think you could say it was going to be like this at all. So they've surprised being able to last with their bullpen, because that is something that you mentioned very early on in the season that you thought it was going to catch up to them. Has not caught up to them yet. The offense has stalled a little bit in the second half, but they're still doing enough. You know, they supplemented. They brought in Lane Thomas. They get Manzardo there, and those guys have helped a little bit. They're still figuring out ways to score runs. They're manufacturing runs. It's not pretty baseball all the time, but they can beat you in a bunch of different ways. So I'm very surprised. It's not typical, but I think we've seen this year a bunch of teams approaching the game kind of the way that they're doing now, you know, with lockdown bullpens, you know, and that takes a lot of strategy. So it's right to give a lot of credit to Stephen Vogt, being able to put those guys in the right situations, not burn them out like you were mentioning. It's a very difficult type of managing, and I think that there's no way you could have expected this. No way. No. I mean, they're threatening for best record in the AL.
Yeah. So Vogt 2 years ago at this time was still an active player.
Yes.
And I always thought he was going to be a great manager. I talked with him on the Rose rotation as a player about being a manager and asking if somebody got fired and they then called Stephen Vogt, would you be ready to do it? And he's like, well, I want to at least be given the chance to fail because I feel like I'm ready.
Yeah.
And he had a year of experience on the coaching staff in Seattle. He took that and ran with it here. And I think the thing that he has done best is every post-game press conference is the same. He won't ever throw a guy under the bus. Mm-hmm. Not once will he ever give a hint of that. Probably to the point of frustration for some Guardians fans. Okay. You know, like he won't ever point the finger. He's always going to be the same guy. Sorry, that's my little dinging. He'll be the same guy every day. And I'll be curious. We're talking to Austin Hedges on Monday in an episode that'll come out Tuesday. And this is a guy who's played for several managers. What has been the difference? Like, I know that you're not huge on managers' effectiveness, but why has this worked so well in Cleveland when it could have gone okay?
Okay, I think I have an answer, and this is something that we have alluded to the past couple of episodes, but I think with a new manager coming in, when you have like a younger team, a not as much established of a team, like they're going to buy into that energy much more than a veteran team would. Mm-hmm. And Vogt has a great energy, and I believe the quote was a leader of men. I believe that's very accurate for him. Like, you know, I've spent a season with him, played with him in Oakland. We used to take the path together to day games and had a lot of good conversations while we were doing that. And he's a guy that you can it's just hard not to, I don't want to say fall in love with the guy, but it's kind of what it is. He's just a really, really good human.
He's genuine.
And he genuinely wants everyone to succeed. That doesn't happen all the time when you get to professional sports. A lot of guys are jealous and selfish, and they just want to make sure they're getting theirs. Steve was never that way. And I think guys can see that. And you mentioned, you know, not blowing up guys in the press. You start to really, you know, especially when people are telling you can't do something and all of a sudden you start winning a little bit and then you're in first place, then that's when that, oh, shit, why can't we just keep this up attitude starts. And I feel like they've had it the entire year.
And nobody's going to pick them in the playoffs. I certainly didn't pick them to make the postseason at all. I thought that they'd have between 77 and 83 wins. I thought that would be a good year for them based on the talent they had. But Stephen Vogt has gotten them to buy in, and they've had some remarkable years, particularly out of the bullpen and some other places. So good for my hometown. I'm very, very happy.
Yes.
With the help of Cleveland, the Tigers have erased a 9.5 game wild card deficit. They are tied on this Friday with your Minnesota Twins for the final wild card berth. After losing 3 of 4 in Cleveland, here's Twins skipper Rocco Baldelli.
After all of these tough stretches, we're still sitting here in a spot where we have an opportunity to go to the playoffs and win. It doesn't feel like that when you lose 3 out of 4 and when you're not playing your best. But we have very good players in our clubhouse. We have a very good opportunity in front of us. We have to acknowledge that, and we have to go out there and just keep playing hard. And when you have good players like we do, it will come together.
All right, so we talked earlier this week about how Detroit's gotten it done. We talked on yesterday's show about why this has happened to the Twins. Now I want to pick a couple of guys, one from each team, who to watch over these last 10 days of the season. And with all due respect to the Seattle Mariners and the Mariners fans.
That's kind of mean.
It is a little bit. I probably should have added a player from Seattle. Unless you want to just go for it.
Julio, offense. I'm probably going to say the same thing for each of those teams. Offense. Anybody.
Do you have a player on the Twins you'd like to go with?
Royce Lewis. Royce Lewis, Carlos Correa, and Byron Buxton. Like, those guys have to carry that offense. The pitching staff is going to be what it is. Bailey Ober's going to throw a good game. Pablo Lopez is probably going to throw a good game. The 3 rookies, we'll see what can happen, but they need to score runs. They need to score runs in bunches. They have the type of offense that can do it. But one of those 3 guys, I think Royce is the most important, needs to put the team on their back.
We saw what he did last year against the Blue Jays in the postseason.
They have to, Chris.
I'm going to mention a guy you just mentioned, Bailey Ober. He is right now in line to start the last game of the season. So if it does come down to that, and I would expect him to come up big time. He's had 4 what I would call bad to horrible performances out of his 29 starts. That's about on par with when you get for a really good major league pitcher, and I think he's really established himself. He's got an ERA under 3 this month, 33 strikeouts, just over 26 innings worked. He's going to get 2 starts down the stretch. I know that you have to rely on other guys, but I think that if a guy like that can throw a couple of gems, it'll take a little pressure off that offense. Do you have somebody on the Tigers?
I think it's all offensive minded, so I'll go middle of their lineup. I'll go like a Torkelson. I'll even go kind of down there with Jace Jung. Like, I think those guys, the top of their lineup is actually getting the job done. But I still just think this is they're figuring it out with the pitching. The Tigers have almost taken the exact same mold as the Cleveland Guardians, where like they're getting the back end of the bullpen's been great. They're getting enough starting pitching. They're using the opener, doing all these things. So I think really for them it's offensive minded. So I could put Matt Vierling in there. I can do Spencer Torkelson, Jay Shung. I think those guys, somebody from that group, just needs to be a run producer. When the opportunity arises, you just got to get the job done. Doesn't have to be pretty, but you just got to get the guy in.
As of the taping of this show, we don't know the health status of Colt Keith. He's had a bad shoulder, kept him out of the lineup the other day in Kansas City. I think this kid's a bulldog. Yeah. I really like him a lot. I like what he brings to their lineup. He's hitting .315 this month. Of all the regulars that have played pretty much a full season, he's had the best batting average on the team. Kerry Carpenter's come back and kind of lit up the world, but he hasn't obviously. Yeah, he obviously hasn't played the entire season. Seattle, I'm going to go with Justin Turner, guy that's been there and done that and leads the way. I know he's 39 years old, so maybe athletically at this point of his career he's limited. But if there's a guy who can make things slow down and make guys believe, you're bringing him in there not only for his bat in the middle of the order presence, but also as a guy who can calm things down.
Do you think he's done that? Do you think he's taken a leadership role in that clubhouse? Or do you think he's kind of sat in the back and just said,
no,
I
don't think that's who he is. I think he's the guy that can come up, but without it sounding like, hey, guys, listen to me. Because those dudes,
I think he should do that. I think that's exactly what Seattle has been missing. Somebody to come in there and say, this is what we're going to do. Let's go do it. Here's the direction we're going to take.
Interesting.
I do. So, obviously, the guy has spent less than half a year there. It's difficult to do that. But a guy like Justin Turner, who has, back of a baseball card that's pretty dang good. A lot of dirt on the spikes. I think he could do it.
Okay. We got more coming your way, but first, this word from Trevor Plouffe.
Yes, today's episode is brought to you by Pickett. It's a free bet tracker that allows you to see all of your bets in one place. The app tells you which teams, players, and bet types you're most profitable on, so you can keep track of it. You understand where you're at, what you need to be doing. Pickett made me realize I never hit on the Yanks. Something like that. Never bet the Yankees. You know what? USC football. How about that? That's what I always lose on. You can see your friends' bets and ours. Jake's is actually on the app. So you can easily tail Jake, or what I would do is fade Jake. That's what I would do. Pickett is a great way to track what sports players you're up or down on. The historical context Pickett provides is invaluable. So all you got to do is download Pickett now with code JOHNBOY to get $3 or $100 sent directly to your PayPal or Venmo. Either scan the QR code on the screen or head to pikkit.com today. That's Pickett with code JOHNBOY.
Continue on with the National League wild card. Goes into the weekend. Mets a 2-game lead over the Atlanta Braves. Braves put up 15 in winning a game in the Queen City. Chris Sale only went 5 innings, but he continues to lead the league in wins and ERA and strikeouts. Meanwhile, the Mets on Thursday night, their bats continued to be beastly in Queens.
5 straight out of the zone. That ball is detonated. 3-run home run, a meteor from Alvarez.
Yeah, 4 homers. 3rd straight game that the Mets have scored double digits. They're on a heater even without Francisco Lindor. So I'm going to ask the same question in the National League wild card we just asked in the American League for those 3 teams, but we're going to focus on the 2 here. Give me one guy from each team. Let's start with the Mets.
So I actually went to my source for this, and I said, Jolly Olive, give me a guy on the Mets that you think needs to step up or be a guy for you down the stretch, because this is a very important stretch as we sit here. They're 2 games up on Atlanta, tied with the Diamondbacks for the 2nd wild card spot. He said Francisco Alvarez, who has just hit a home run last night. He's actually hit, he's hit a bunch of homers as of late, didn't
4.
He hit 4 in the last, 7 games, 8 games. So you have to continue that power surge. Hopefully they get Lindor back. Have we got word on that?
No, I mean, Ken Rosenthal reported that it hasn't gotten any worse, but it's not as good as they had hoped.
So he gave me this answer, and I'm fine by it. Alvarez is a very dynamic player, a guy that guys can really rally behind. He's had big hits all year, maybe one of the best bat flips of the season, Francisco Alvarez. I also like Acuna, too, for them. Like, if this guy continues to be a guy and step up in that role with Lindor gone, that's interesting. But Jolly said Francisco Alvarez, so that's what I'm going with.
By the way, people are probably thinking, well, why didn't you also throw a Diamondback in here? In part because the Mets and the Braves will play each other next week. So that's why we kind of focused on those 2 teams. For me, for the Mets, it's Reed Garrett. He has come in and done an exceptional job out of the bullpen. For people that aren't familiar with his story, drafted by Texas a decade ago, eventually became a Rule 5 guy, went to Detroit, played 13 games there, had to go over to Japan to kind of establish himself, came back to the States in 22 with Washington, eventually made it to Baltimore. He got DFA'd there, put on waivers, picked up by the Mets in the summer of 23, and now this year he's pitched very, very well. He's had 13 decisions out of the bullpen, 80 strikeouts in over 55 innings worked. A dependable arm, good setup guy for Edwin Diaz, and we know that a lot of these games come down to bullpen management and guys who get it done in the crunch.
Oh, he's going to be pitching in big-time innings for them. Yes.
So that's who I'd go with. How about for the Atlanta Braves?
I think it's a guy that's supposed to come back tonight, Ozzie Albies.
Yeah, it sounds like he's only going to hit from the right side because of his issue.
I think that if you're talking about some sort of spark plug for the last 10 games of the season, and really the Braves need to go into Miami and sweep that series. They have to go do that, set themselves up to be, to control their own destiny, if you will. Because right now they still control their own destiny because they play the Mets 3 times. They need to continue to control their own destiny, and if you need a spark, he's like one of the biggest spark plugs in the league, especially for that team. So I'll go with Ozzie Albies.
He's an energy giver, as we like to say in the world. How about a guy that's been pretty much MIA for the Atlanta Braves all year, and I think he's a really good baseball player, and that's Sean Murphy. He has 3 hits this month.
That's not good.
3 hits this month.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I mean, what are we doing, guys?
Is that real?
Yeah, it's true.
I'm going to look right now because I don't believe it.
Okay. Go look at it. 6-year, $73 million extension in between the end of the 22 and beginning of the 23 season. I know it's it started horribly this year. I think it was an oblique that cost him a ton of time at the beginning of the season, and he's barely hitting 200. And when you compare, remember, he came over in the 3-team trade between the Braves, A's, and Brewers.
Yep.
Who ended up in Milwaukee?
William Contreras.
Well,
it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
So, Sean Murphy, I know he had a really good 23, but this is not what they expect out of you. Somebody's got to pull a little bit.
What did the Brewers give up? Esteury Ruiz?
Esteury Ruiz.
Who's like not even on the team.
The Brewers also got Joel Payams.
The Brewers gave up Esteury Ruiz for both those players?
Yeah, let me see. They must have given up someone else.
I mean, we talked about this before.
That's it, I guess, yeah?
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, that is really ridiculous. Okay.
Time
right now for our 5-hour energy question of the week. But before I ask that question, I'll ask this one. Do you want to be a tailgate champion? Win $10,000 for the ultimate football tailgate. All you have to do is enter the 5-hour energy tailgate championship sweepstakes. You could have a chance to win $10,000 toward your tailgate. It's quick, simple, effective. And that's what I'm talking about with 5-hour energy. I told you at the beginning of this show that you can drink it in seconds, feel it in minutes, and it lasts for hours. It also has 0 sugar, and it's packed with B vitamins and amino acids. So it's a feeling of alertness and energy. You need something to get you through the work week or get you ready for a big weekend. This is the way to go. 5-hour energy shots are portable, convenient, and go with you for that feeling of energy whenever you need it. As far as the sweepstakes, learn more at 5hewin.com. There's no purchase necessary. It ends October of this year. That is 10/31/24. See full official rules for details and how to enter without purchase at the number 5hewin.com. Also, you can shop for great products at 5hourenergy.com to find your favorite flavors today. All right, our 5-hour energy question of the week sent in by Sean Osiala.
Sure.
If Trevor Plouffe could play Blitzball Battle 5 with one pro athlete, who would it be? And which famous broadcaster would Chris Rose choose to help with the play-by-play?
Let me go first.
Please.
So it just depends. Like, am I trying to win or am I just trying to have a good time?
I mean, it's your call.
If I'm just trying to like have a good time, I'll probably it either be Taylor Fritz or Carlos Alcaraz. I like watching tennis right now. So just like be around those guys. I mean, Carlos Alcaraz moving on this field down here, this warehouse floor, we electric.
So would we have to put in the clay from Roland Garros?
No, he can play. He can play
on any surface,
yeah.
including cement.
Imagine him playing defense out there. Okay, that's fine. To win, I'm in between two guys right now because I really believe that this is a contact-oriented sport here. So like a Luis Ariz, I think would do really, really well.
Oh yeah,
here. Like just touch the ball and
could you imagine how many Jack Doyle knuckle curves he would foul off?
So many. So I'm in between him and then like my all-time favorite guy, Evan Longoria.
Oh yeah.
I think him and I would be like a very dynamic duo.
Oh God, we wouldn't be able to separate the two of you.
Yeah,
You'd be going out for sushi every night.
I'm going Longo. We're just like he's like my older bro, and we're gonna just go out and have a good time. I think we'd win it too.
By the way, is he older than you? It's not much.
He's barely older than me.
It's really not much.
But he feels he's so much more rich than I am.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Had so much more success at the big league level.
Not going to say that.
Also, Trey Turner. I have a lot of guys who I'd want to play with. Trey Turner is also a really good one.
Yeah, but I think his speed
Bobby Witt Jr. Oh,
his speed would get nullified here.
There's too many good ones that I want to play with for baseball players, so I'm out on that. I'm going Carlos Alcaraz.
Okay, that's fine. For me, I actually think it's pretty easy. Listen, I love having Moylan as a partner here. He keeps me on my toes. He's funny. He's insightful when he has to be. All sorts of stuff. So I need a guy who I think could just hang with the crew.
Okay.
I think I'm not going to say he was done dirty recently, but he was demoted in front of our eyes for a guy who had never set foot in a broadcast booth.
Okay.
I'm going with Greg Olson.
Okay.
Why not? Let's have some fun.
I like that, having his back a little bit. I agree. They did do him dirty.
Right? I mean, he definitely would have hung out with us last night when we all went out as a group.
Yes. Tom Brady would not do that.
Not sure if that would have happened
for
Brady.
No way Tom Brady would have came to
But
a
Greg Olson would have in a second.
Yeah.
And I think that he would have the perfect balance of insight and fun with this broadcast.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
So
yeah, because the other guys, there's some guys out there too much fun.
Yeah.
You need a little bit of seriousness.
No, you need some stuff. Like that's the thing about Moylan is that he can pinpoint it when he needs to. As long as I can get him to look in my eyes. The eyes kind of scare me a little bit there.
Okay. Wow.
All right, good question, Sean. And that was a fun one. Always appreciative.
There's so many guys I want to play blitzball
I'm
with.
sure.
I was thinking like a Josh Hader, like a lefty, nasty. Chris, can you imagine Chris Sale?
How about an off-season blitzball draft show?
That'd be fun.
I think it'd be great.
That'd be really
we could
fun.
get the two of us, Jimmy and Jake, and we have a draft. We each draft, but the blitzball team, it could be like 5 deep, and you guys, you could rotate guys in.
Pitchers and hitters.
Yeah. What do you think?
Glenn Perkins really wants to come play. He was like one of the original guys I ever saw throw a blitzball. They would do it in the back equipment room of Target Field. Him and Phil Hughes. But Glenn's nasty.
Well, don't you remember when Jerry Blevins first played with us, and he had the hardest time dialing it back?
Yeah.
And then once he did, it was awesome.
I raked him, though.
Easy. All right, great week up here. It was fun doing these shows together. We're back at it again next week when we'll have T-minus 7 days left in the baseball season.
Unbelievable.
Cannot wait. Everybody have a good, safe sporting weekend. For our one-of-a-kind producer, Dan Rourke, and the uber-talented Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose. We will see you Monday here on Baseball Today, presented to you by 5 Hour Energy.